Jake the dog is unlike any other hero in the land of Ooo. Where others pursue destiny, power, or knowledge, Jake pursues something simpler and, in its own way, far more profound: a state of chill. For Jake, life is not meant to be conquered, dissected, or endlessly worried over. Life is meant to be lived, enjoyed, absorbed, and taken in stride. His philosophy, though wrapped in the lazy cadence of jokes, naps, and stretching limbs, contains a wisdom that speaks to both the characters around him and the viewers who follow his adventures. To understand Jake is to understand the value of letting go, of moving with the flow rather than against it, and of savouring the present moment rather than being consumed by future burdens or past regrets. From the very beginning, Jake is defined by ease. He wakes up when he feels like it, lounges whenever the opportunity presents itself, and rarely feels the need to impose unnecessary structure on his life. Unlike Princess Bubblegum, whose mind is dominated by logic, responsibility, and endless calculation, or Finn, who is consumed by heroic ideals and the constant call to action, Jake is satisfied with simplicity. He wants food, comfort, music, and companionship, not thrones, empires, or cosmic enlightenment. This contrast with the world around him is the heart of his philosophy. In a land filled with chaos, war, and existential threats, Jake embodies a radical proposition: that peace of mind is more valuable than conquest, and that happiness is not found in what you gain, but in how you choose to experience the world. Jake's way of chill is often mistaken for laziness. Certainly, he loves to nap. He is famous for shrugging off chores, responsibilities, or crises that might otherwise send others into panic. Yet there is more to his attitude than simple apathy. Jake recognizes something that many others in Ooo struggle to grasp. Stress does not solve problems. Worry does not fix the world. If anything, tension clouds judgment and pulls people away from what matters most. Jake's refusal to rush, his tendency to pause before action, and his willingness to let things play out are not signs of irresponsibility, but expressions of trust. Trust in his own abilities, trust in his friends, and trust in the unfolding of life itself. This approach reveals itself most clearly in his companionship with Finn. Finn burns with energy, driven by a need to act, protect, and prove himself. Left unchecked, Finn's passion could consume him, leading to reckless decisions, or an endless spiral of self-doubt when things go wrong. Jake tempers this fire by insisting on slowing down, by reminding Finn to laugh, eat, or take a nap. Jake ensures that his brother does not burn out. In this sense, Jake's philosophy of chill is not merely personal, but relational. He offers balance to others, showing them that rest is not weakness and that joy is not frivolous, but essential. For Finn, Jake is more than a companion. He is the anchor that keeps a hero from drowning in his own intensity. This balance is also visible in Jake's response to danger. Where Finn often leaps into battle with sword swinging, Jake approaches conflict with creativity, humour, and adaptability. His shape-shifting powers make him versatile, but it is his relaxed mind that allows him to use them so effectively. Instead of forcing situations, he bends with them, literally and metaphorically. Whether stretching into a shield, transforming into a vehicle, or slipping into bizarre disguises, Jake demonstrates that flexibility, mental as much as physical, is more powerful than brute force. His philosophy is embodied in his very body: stretch, adjust, reshape, but never break. Chill is not about avoidance, it is about resilience. Another aspect of Jake's philosophy of chill is his relationship with time. Many characters in Ooo obsess over the past or the future. Princess Bubblegum clings to history, carrying the weight of past mistakes and the need to control the future. Marceline struggles with centuries of memories that haunt her. Even Finn, as he grows older, constantly questions his role in the grand story of the world. Jake, however, lives in the now. His sense of time is fluid, unconcerned with distant consequences or ancient regrets. This is not ignorance, it is choice. He knows the world is unpredictable, that death and change are inevitable. To spend one's life fretting over what cannot be controlled is, for Jake, a waste of energy. His philosophy instead celebrates the beauty of the moment, a good meal, a song played on the viola, a lazy afternoon with family. In cherishing these small joys, Jake shows that life's true treasures are not hidden in destiny, but scattered in everyday experiences. Food, in particular, plays a central role in Jake's worldview. His love of cooking, eating, and experimenting with bizarre recipes reflects more than just gluttony. It is the practice of pleasure, creativity, and sharing. Food, for Jake, is a way of connecting with others, a way of slowing down and enjoying what the world has to offer. He finds joy in the simple act of mixing ingredients, tasting flavors, and feeding friends. In this, Jake's chill philosophy overlaps with a kind of artistic sensibility. He may not build kingdoms or craft inventions, but he creates moments, edible, fleeting, joyful moments that bring people together. His way of chill is not just about avoiding stress, but about filling life with sweetness, laughter, and community. Yet Jake's philosophy is not without its shadows. His tendency to relax can drift into avoidance. There are times when his refusal to take things seriously places him at odds with others who bear the weight of responsibility. For Princess Bubblegum, Jake's chill can seem like negligence, a lack of commitment to the larger struggles that define Ooo. Even Finn, at times, grows frustrated with Jake's refusal to push harder, fight longer, or take destiny seriously. These tensions highlight the double-edged nature of Jake's philosophy. Chill is a blessing, but it can also be an excuse. The wisdom lies not in rejecting responsibility altogether, but in knowing when to engage and when to let go. Jake, imperfect as he is, sometimes falters in this balance. But his flaws only make his philosophy more human, more real. What makes Jake's way of chill resonate is that it is not born from naivety. He has lived long enough, seen enough, and fought enough to know that the world can be cruel and chaotic. His chill is not denial, but response, a deliberate choice to embrace calm in the face of uncertainty. He understands that life is fragile, that battles may be lost, and that even the strongest bonds can be tested. Yet instead of hardening into cynicism or collapsing into despair, Jake chooses laughter. He chooses to stretch, relax, and keep moving forward. This choice is what elevates his philosophy beyond laziness. It is resilience, disguised as ease, wisdom masked as humour. Jake's influence on others demonstrates the quiet power of this approach. Finn learns from Jake that rest is as important as action, that joy is as vital as duty. Lady Rainicorn finds in Jake a partner who does not overcomplicate love, who embraces it with ease and warmth. Their children inherit not only his powers but his outlook, growing up in an environment where love is casual, steady, and unforced. Even Princess Bubblegum, though often exasperated by Jake's lack of discipline, benefits from his perspective. He reminds her, without needing to say it outright, that not every decision requires endless calculation, and that sometimes the best path is the simplest one. In the broader story of Ooo, Jake's philosophy of chill serves as a counterpoint to the grand themes of war, destiny, and cosmic order. Where others strive for meaning in the stars or in the past, Jake finds it in a sandwich or a nap under a tree. His philosophy suggests that meaning is not always out there, hidden in mysteries or written in prophecy. Sometimes it is right here, in the mundane, the silly, and the ordinary. This humility, wrapped in humour, is what makes Jake such a unique figure. He is a reminder that life does not need to be extraordinary to be worthwhile, and that joy can be found even in the smallest of moments. As a rainbow stretches across the sky after a storm, Jake's philosophy of chill stretches across the chaos of Oo, offering a bridge to peace. His way is not about winning every battle or solving every problem, but about learning how to live in harmony with the world as its island. To be chill, in Jake's sense, is to embrace imperfection, to laugh at absurdity, and to trust that things will somehow work out. It is not a philosophy of passivity, but of perspective, a way of seeing life not as a constant struggle, but as an endless opportunity to relax, enjoy, and love. In the end, Jake's way of chill may be the most radical philosophy of all. In a world obsessed with power, destiny, and survival, Jake dares to say that none of it matters as much as being happy, being kind, and being present. His chill is not weakness, but strength, a strength that allows him to bend without breaking, to laugh without fear, and to live without regret. For viewers, Jake's philosophy is an invitation to breathe, to slow down, and to recognize that sometimes the wisest path is the simplest one. For most heroes in Oo, adventuring is a matter of destiny, duty, or survival. Finn sees it as a calling, Princess Bubblegum views it as necessity, and countless villains treat it as conquest. But for Jake the dog, adventure is something else entirely. It is play. It is leisure. It is not a burden to carry, but a pastime to enjoy. This distinction lies at the heart of Jake's philosophy, revealing not only his unique role among the heroes of Oo, but also his deeper understanding of life itself. For Jake, adventure is not about fulfilling some cosmic narrative. It is about living fully in the present and finding joy even in danger. Jake's attitude toward adventuring is consistent with his larger philosophy of chill, yet it deserves its own exploration. Unlike Finn, who throws himself into quests with youthful urgency, Jake approaches the same battles, dungeons, and mysteries with the relaxed curiosity of a tourist wandering through a strange city. He marvels at the oddities of Oo, not with the sharp eye of a tactician, but with the amused grin of someone who knows he has all the time in the world. Where Finn sees enemies to be defeated, Jake often sees puzzles to be solved or games to be played. This is not to say he lacks bravery. When Finn is in danger, Jake leaps into action without hesitation. But his bravery is not fueled by the fire of destiny. It is grounded in love for his brother and in the simple thrill of joining the game. This playful approach changes the meaning of adventure itself. In a world full of existential threats, Jake's perspective reminds us that not every battle has to be a grim struggle for survival. Sometimes it can be fun. Sometimes the joy of exploration, the humour of odd encounters, and the silliness of impossible creatures are what matter most. In this way, Jake redefines adventure as a form of leisure, a practice of finding lightness, even when the stakes are high. For him, danger does not cancel out joy, it enhances it. The absurdity of facing monsters, traps, and magic only adds to the playfulness of the moment. By laughing through chaos, Jake transforms adventuring into something more than survival. He turns it into a celebration. This perspective also reflects his relationship with Finn. As Finn's older brother and companion, Jake provides the balance that keeps their adventures from overwhelming the younger hero. Finn, with his drive for justice and heroism, might collapse under the weight of responsibility if left to his own devices. Jake lightens the load. He cracks jokes in the middle of peril, turns quests into games, and reminds Finn that joy is part of the journey. His philosophy of leisure is not just for himself, it is a gift he offers to those around him. By framing adventure as play, he helps Finn grow without breaking, ensuring that his brother learns courage without losing laughter. One of the most fascinating aspects of Jake's leisure-driven approach is how it shapes his use of powers. His shape-shifting abilities are unmatched in versatility, yet he rarely uses them in rigid, militaristic ways. Instead, Jake treats his powers like toys, stretching into ridiculous shapes, inflating into balloons, or shrinking into comical disguises. Even in combat, his creativity often takes a humorous turn, transforming the danger into a playground. This playful use of power is not wasteful, but revealing. Jake understands that the point of adventure is not domination, but enjoyment. His abilities allow him to adapt, survive, and protect, but they also allow him to have fun. His leisure is not passivity, but creativity, a way of making life's challenges entertaining rather than oppressive. Jake's playful adventuring also challenges the seriousness of others. Princess Bubblegum, with her meticulous strategies and grave sense of responsibility, often finds herself baffled or annoyed by Jake's lack of discipline. Yet his perspective exposes the limitations of her rigidity. Not every crisis requires endless planning. Sometimes spontaneity and humour can accomplish just as much. Similarly, Marceline's mischievous chaos often clashes with Jake's calm playfulness, yet the two share a bond in their ability to find fun in the absurdity of Ooo. Jake stands at a middle point between PB's severity and Marceline's anarchy, embodying a philosophy of balance that transforms the battlefield into a playground rather than a prison. Of course, Jake's philosophy of leisure is not without risk. His tendency to treat adventure as a game can lead to underestimating dangers or neglecting responsibilities. There are moments when Finn, exasperated by Jake's lack of seriousness, demands more focus. In these moments, Jake's flaws reveal themselves. Leisure is valuable, but unchecked, it can drift into negligence. Still, even in these lapses, Jake's core principle remains: stress and fear do not improve outcomes. They only weigh down the spirit. Even when his playfulness causes trouble, Jake has a remarkable ability to recover, adapt, and keep moving, turning mistakes into lessons without drowning in guilt. This resilience is a key part of his philosophy, the ability to laugh even at one's own failures. Jake's approach to adventure also speaks to his understanding of mortality. Unlike Finn, who grapples with the weight of being a hero and the inevitability of loss, Jake does not allow death or danger to overshadow his joy. He knows risk is part of life, but instead of obsessing over it, he embraces the thrill of the moment. To treat adventure as leisure is in some sense to defy fear itself. Monsters, curses, and cosmic entities may loom large, but for Jake, they are still part of the game. This is not ignorance, it is courage reframed. By laughing in the face of danger, Jake demonstrates a deeper kind of bravery, one that refuses to let fear define the journey. This philosophy resonates beyond his relationship with Finn, with Lady. Rainicorn, Jake's leisure-driven view of life strengthens their bond. He does not approach love as duty or drama, but as play, a shared joy that grows steadily rather than burning out. As a father, his playful spirit shapes his parenting. He allows his children freedom, encourages them to explore, and treats their growth as part of life's grand adventure. While his laid-back attitude sometimes leaves others to shoulder the heavier responsibilities, his children still benefit from a father who sees life as something to be enjoyed rather than endured. For Jake, family is not a burden, but the greatest adventure of all. In the larger story of Ooo, Jake's philosophy of leisure stands as a counterpoint to the world's endless conflicts. Wars rage, villains rise, and cosmic forces threaten existence itself, yet Jake treats it all with a laugh and a stretch. His refusal to let adventure become a grim obligation reminds everyone around him that joy is essential to survival. Without leisure, even the bravest heroes would crumble under the weight of their quests. Jake proves that adventure does not need to consume life, it can enrich it. His perspective offers a lesson not only to Finn and the characters of Ooo, but to the audience itself. Life is too strange, too fleeting, and too wonderful not to be enjoyed. Jake's philosophy also highlights the absurdity of Ooo itself. The land of Ooo is a place where candy kingdoms rise, vampires brood, and ancient entities threaten existence. It is both magical and ridiculous, terrifying and hilarious. Jake's leisure-driven approach perfectly matches this world, showing that the only sane response to absurdity is humour. By refusing to take everything too seriously, he aligns himself with the truth of Ooo, that chaos is inevitable, and the best way to survive it is to embrace the fun within it. Adventure, in this light, is not a test of will, but a dance with absurdity, and Jake is its most graceful dancer. In the end, Jake's philosophy of adventure as leisure is not just about avoiding stress or finding fun. It is a world view that transforms danger into opportunity, duty into play, and fear into laughter. It teaches that life's greatest challenges can also be life's greatest joys, if approached with the right perspective. For Jake, every dungeon is a playground, every battle a game, and every quest a chance to laugh. His leisure does not make him less of a hero. It makes him a different kind of hero, one who proves that survival is not enough. To truly live, one must find joy, even in the midst of chaos. At first glance, Jake the dog may seem like nothing more than the comic relief of Ooo, a shape-shifting jokester, a lover of puns, a goof who rarely takes anything seriously. But underneath the laughter lies one of his most profound qualities, the wisdom of the trickster. Jake embodies the ancient archetype of the trickster figure, a character who thrives on humour, mischief, and unpredictability, but who also carries deeper truths hidden within the play. His philosophy of life is not about rules or order, but about bending them, reshaping them, and finding meaning in the absurd. By living as a trickster, Jake reveals truths that more serious characters often miss, showing that wisdom sometimes hides in foolishness. The trickster archetype exists across cultures, a figure who blurs boundaries, mocks authority, and disrupts rigid structures with humour and cunning. In Ooo, Jake fulfills this role perfectly. His body itself is a trickster's tool, endlessly flexible, fluid, and bizarre. He stretches into disguises, contorts into ridiculous shapes, and mocks the seriousness of situations simply by refusing to conform. His shape-shifting is not just a power, but a philosophy, an embodiment of adaptability, humour, and play as ways of engaging with the world. He refuses to be fixed in one form, just as he refuses to be fixed in one way of thinking. For Jake, life is not a straight path, but a game of endless improvisation. Jake's humour plays a vital role in his trickster wisdom. He cracks jokes at the worst possible times, turns serious battles into slapstick, and often distracts enemies with antics rather than brute strength. To those around him, This might seem like carelessness, but there is method in his madness. Humor breaks tension. It reframes danger. It transforms fear into laughter. By joking in the face of chaos, Jake robs fear of its power. His humor becomes a weapon, not of destruction, but of perspective. Where others would collapse under the weight of dread, Jake lightens the load, reminding everyone that no matter how dire the situation, absurdity is never far away. This use of humor also allows Jake to challenge authority. In a world where Princess Bubblegum rules with logic and responsibility, and where countless villains demand obedience through fear, Jake refuses to bow to seriousness. His trickster nature pokes holes in the pretensions of power. He teases PB, not out of disrespect, but as a way of grounding her. He mocks enemies, not only to annoy them, but to expose their ridiculousness. By refusing to treat authority as absolute, Jake preserves a kind of freedom that few others in OO possess. His wisdom lies in showing that no one, not even rulers or monsters, is beyond laughter. Jake's trickster philosophy also shapes his mentoring of Finn. Unlike traditional teachers, who impose lessons through rules, Jake teaches through mischief and play. He guides Finn not by lecturing, but by showing, experimenting, and sometimes even misleading him into lessons. His approach may seem careless, but it allows Finn to learn through experience rather than blind obedience. By embracing the role of the trickster mentor, Jake ensures that Finn grows into his own person rather than a copy of anyone else. Tricksters are often unsettling teachers because they force students to think for themselves, to question, and to adapt. Jake embodies this perfectly, blending humour with guidance in a way that shapes Finn's journey without ever dictating it. An essential aspect of trickster wisdom is the ability to blur boundaries. Jake lives at the intersection of seriousness and silliness, loyalty and mischief, power and play. He is a hero, but he refuses to act like one in the traditional sense. He is a father, but he often approaches parenting with playful irresponsibility. He is a partner to Lady Rainicorn, yet his love is expressed through jokes and games rather than dramatic declarations. By straddling these boundaries, Jake reveals that life is not as rigid as others believe. Roles can be fluid, identities can be playful, and even the most serious duties can be infused with joy. This is the heart of trickster wisdom, the refusal to let definitions confine existence. Jake's trickster side also serves as a form of survival. In a world filled with cosmic horrors, ancient curses, and endless battles, those who carry the weight of seriousness often break. Jake, however, survives by bending. He refuses to let fear dominate him, refuses to let duty exhaust him, and refuses to let tragedy define him. His humour and play are not escapes but shields. By laughing at the absurdity of OO, Jake protects himself and others from despair. The trickster survives not by conquering, but by outwitting, not by brute force, but by cleverness and adaptability. Jake embodies this survival strategy, thriving in a world that might otherwise crush him. Yet, like all tricksters, Jake's philosophy has its dangers. His mischief can sometimes go too far, creating problems instead of solving them. His tendency to joke when seriousness is required frustrates Finn and Princess Bubblegum. His refusal to conform can be seen as irresponsibility, even negligence. This tension is central to the trickster role. The line between wisdom and foolishness is always thin. Jake occasionally crosses it, causing trouble that others must resolve. But even in failure, his trickster nature holds value. Mistakes become lessons, blunders become stories, and chaos becomes a reminder that perfection is not the goal of life. For Jake, the goal is to live fully, and living fully means embracing both wisdom and folly. Jake's trickster philosophy also touches on deeper existential truths. In his laughter, his play, and his refusal to be confined, he embodies the idea that life is inherently absurd. Ooo is a land where candy people fight wars, where vampires play bass guitars, and where cosmic entities devour existence. To treat such a world with rigid seriousness is to miss its truth, that absurdity is its essence. By embracing the role of the trickster, Jake aligns himself with the deepest reality of Ooo. He does not resist the absurd, he celebrates it. His wisdom lies in recognizing that meaning is not always logical, that life's chaos cannot always be tamed, and that sometimes the only sane response is laughter. In his relationships, Jake's trickster philosophy provides unique strength. With Finn, it lightens burdens. With Lady Rainicorn, it keeps love vibrant. With his children, it creates a household of play and freedom. Even with Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, his humour bridges divides, offering levity where there might otherwise be tension. The trickster's gift is connection, the ability to dissolve barriers through laughter and play. Jake wields this gift constantly, weaving together people who might otherwise drift apart under the weight of seriousness. In the grand tapestry of Adventure Time, Jake's role as trickster adds balance to the larger philosophical themes. While Finn wrestles with destiny, while Princess Bubblegum grapples with responsibility, while the Lich embodies death and destruction, Jake brings laughter, mischief, and absurdity. His wisdom reminds viewers that life cannot be reduced to one truth or one path. There is always another perspective, another joke, another shape to take. In this, Jake embodies freedom, the freedom to redefine, to disrupt, and to laugh in the face of the unknown. Ultimately, Jake's philosophy as a trickster is not about undermining life, but about enriching it. His mischief does not erase responsibility, but adds joy to it. His jokes do not deny fear, but transform it. His shape-shifting does not escape identity, but expands it. By embodying the trickster, Jake shows that wisdom is not always solemn, that truth is not always serious, and that laughter can be as profound as any prophecy. In the end, Jake's trickster wisdom may be the most important philosophy of all, that life, in all its absurdity, is best met with a smile, a joke, and the willingness to stretch into something new. If there is one trait that defines Jake the dog as much as his chill attitude and his trickster spirit, it is loyalty. Beneath the humour, beneath the laziness, beneath the endless stretching into impossible shapes, Jake carries an unshakable devotion to those he loves. His loyalty is not bound by rules, laws, or destiny. It is instinctual, immediate, and absolute. When Jake commits to someone, he commits with his entire being, and he never looks back. This philosophy of loyalty, expressed through his bond with Finn, Lady Rainicorn, his children, and even Princess Bubblegum, reveals a truth about Jake. His life is guided not by abstract codes, but by relationships. For Jake, loyalty is the heart of meaning in a world full of chaos. The most obvious and profound expression of Jake's loyalty is his bond with Finn. From the earliest days of their adventures, Jake commits himself entirely to being Finn's brother, partner, and protector. Unlike Finn, who is constantly wrestling with the concept of heroism and destiny, Jake does not need a larger justification for his actions. He fights because Finn needs him. He travels because Finn wants him. He endures danger not because he seeks glory, but because he refuses to let Finn face it alone. His loyalty is instinctual, like breathing. Where Finn burns with passion, Jake steadies him with presence. Where Finn feels alone, Jake reminds him he is never truly without family. This loyalty is not passive. Jake's devotion to Finn comes with action, stretching into shields to protect him, transforming into steeds to carry him, or risking his life to pull Finn back from peril. Yet what makes Jake's loyalty profound is not the physical sacrifices, but the emotional ones. He allows Finn to grow, even when it pains him to step back. He supports Finn's decisions, even when he disagrees. He lets Finn fail, knowing that failure is part of learning. This balance, unwavering support combined with the humility to let someone find their own way, defines Jake's philosophy of loyalty. It is not about control, but about trust. Jake trusts Finn completely, and that trust shapes their bond more deeply than any battle ever could. Loyalty also defines Jake's relationship with Lady Rainicorn. Their romance is steady, enduring, and free from the turbulence that defines so many other relationships in Ooo. While Finn struggles with heartbreak, Jake and Lady Rainicorn build a life together. Their loyalty is not dramatic or loud, but lived in, grounded in mutual respect and devotion. Jake accepts her culture, her language, her quirks, and her complexities without hesitation. His loyalty does not demand that she change for him. Instead, he embraces her as she island. In turn, Lady Rainicorn stands by Jake, even when his laid-back nature clashes with responsibility. Their relationship demonstrates that loyalty in love is not about perfection, but about consistency, the willingness to show up for each other again and again. This loyalty deepens when Jake becomes a father. The arrival of his children transforms his philosophy into something generational. Jake's devotion expands beyond himself and his partner, encompassing a family that represents reconciliation between once divided species. His loyalty as a father is less about control and more about acceptance. He does not try to shape his children into versions of himself. Instead, he allows them to grow in their own directions, even if that means letting go sooner than he would like. His loyalty manifests as faith. Faith that his children will be strong, faith that they will find their own way, faith that love will guide them even when he cannot. In this, Jake's loyalty becomes a philosophy of trust, not only in people, but in the process of life itself. Jake's loyalty also extends beyond family. His friendship with Princess Bubblegum is one of quiet devotion. Though he often teases her, undermines her seriousness, or refuses to match her discipline, Jake is always there when she truly needs him. He may not understand her scientific mind or her obsession with control, but his loyalty is unquestioned. When Ooo faces danger, Jake does not fight for crowns or kingdoms. He fights because his friends are in peril. His philosophy is not bound by political allegiance or duty to authority. He is loyal to people, not structures. This is why his devotion matters so deeply. It is chosen, not imposed. Jake commits not because he must, but because he wants to, and that choice makes his loyalty stronger than any law. At times, Jake's loyalty borders on recklessness. His devotion to Finn, in particular, leads him into danger he might otherwise avoid. He follows Finn into battles far beyond his comfort zone, risks his life without hesitation, and sometimes ignores his own well-being for the sake of his brother. Critics might argue that this loyalty is unhealthy, that it prevents Jake from fully pursuing his own path. And yet, this is precisely what makes his philosophy unique. For Jake, loyalty is not transactional. It is not a matter of balance or fairness. It is unconditional. He gives freely, without measuring what he receives in return. This form of loyalty can be dangerous, but it is also deeply human. It reflects a truth that many in U struggle with, that love often requires sacrifice, and that devotion cannot always be rationalized. Jake's loyalty also reveals itself in smaller, quieter ways. He listens when Finn needs to talk, even if he doesn't have the answers. He shares food, laughter, and music, weaving joy into the fabric of their relationships. He shows up when asked, and even when not asked, he finds ways to make life lighter for those around him. Loyalty, for Jake, is not always about grand gestures. More often, it is about presence, about being there, about refusing to abandon, about choosing to stay connected no matter the circumstances. His philosophy of loyalty is lived not only in battles, but in breakfasts, not only in sacrifices, but in simple companionship. In the broader philosophy of U, Jake's loyalty provides a counterpoint to the instability of others. Princess Bubblegum's loyalty is conditional, often strained by her responsibilities to her kingdom. Marceline's loyalty is complicated by centuries of hurt and mistrust. Even Finn, young and searching, struggles with where his loyalties lie as he grows. Jake, however, remains constant. His loyalty does not waver with time, distance, or conflict. In a land defined by uncertainty, Jake offers the certainty of devotion. His presence reassures those around him that no matter what chaos unfolds, they will not face it alone. This constancy is perhaps Jake's greatest gift, the ability to make others feel safe simply by being there. Of course, Jake's loyalty is not blind. While he is devoted, he is not enslaved to those he loves. His loyalty to Finn does not prevent him from offering hard truths when necessary. His loyalty to Lady Rainicorn does not strip him of individuality. His loyalty to PB does not make him a subject of her rule. This balance is what makes his devotion philosophical rather than simplistic. He is loyal because he chooses to be, not because he is bound by duty. Choice is the essence of Jake's philosophy. Loyalty is not valuable when it is forced. It becomes profound only when it is freely given. Jake's philosophy of loyalty resonates because it reflects something fundamental about life in U and life in general. In a world where cosmic horrors loom, where destinies weigh heavy, and where loss is inevitable, loyalty becomes an anchor. It grounds people in love, friendship, and family. It reminds them that meaning is not found in power or prophecy, but in the connections they share. Jake's loyalty, without hesitation, is not naivety, it is a deliberate embrace of what matters most. He knows that the world can change in an instant, that even the strongest can fall. But he also knows that loyalty endures. Bonds of love and devotion outlast battles, outshine victories, and outlive even the darkest nights. In the end, Jake the dog's philosophy of loyalty without hesitation is as profound as any cosmic revelation. He shows that life is not about abstract ideals or distant destinies, but about the people we choose to stand beside. His loyalty is not perfect, sometimes reckless, sometimes frustrating, but it is real and it is constant. Through Finn, Lady Rainicorn, his children, and his friends, Jake teaches that loyalty is the truest form of love. It is not bound by logic, nor is it earned by achievement. It is simply given, freely and fully, to those who matter. And in a world as strange and unstable as U, such loyalty may be the most powerful philosophy of all. Jake the dog's philosophy cannot be understood without examining the relationship that anchors his adult life. His love for Lady Rainicorn. While many characters in U experience fleeting romances, heartbreak, or the kind of cosmic entanglements that stretch across centuries, Jake and Lady Rainicorn embody something rare, a partnership that is steady, playful, and enduring. Their bond is not defined by melodrama or epic proclamations, but by consistency, humour, and the quiet strength of mutual acceptance. Jake's philosophy of love is as laid back as the rest of his worldview, yet within it lies a profound understanding of what makes relationships last: patience, respect, and the willingness to embrace difference without fear. At its core, Jake's love for Lady Rainicorn reflects his most essential quality, loyalty without hesitation, but it also deepens into something more specific. Love, for Jake, is not about possession or control. He does not demand that Lady Rainicorn change to fit him, nor does he force himself into her world without adaptation. Instead, he embraces her culture, her language, and her uniqueness, even when others might view their differences as obstacles. Lady Rainicorn speaks primarily in Korean, a language most in Wu cannot understand, yet this never deters Jake. He listens, he responds, and he accepts that communication does not always need to be perfect to be meaningful. In this way, Jake demonstrates a philosophy of love rooted in acceptance. To truly love someone is to honour them as they are, not as you wish them to be. Their romance also highlights the power of companionship. Jake's laid-back nature pairs with Lady Rainicorn's grace and steadiness to create a relationship that feels lived in, authentic, and unforced. Unlike Finn's romances, which are often marked by longing, heartbreak, or youthful uncertainty, Jake and Lady Rainicorn simply are. They exist together without the constant need for validation or conflict. Their love is expressed in shared moments, flying through the skies together, laughing, raising their children. This simplicity is part of Jake's philosophy. Love is not necessarily found in dramatic gestures, but in the everyday rhythm of being with someone, building a life with them, and finding joy in the ordinary. An essential part of Jake's philosophy of love is playfulness. He and Lady Rainicorn laugh together, joke together, and treat their relationship with a lightness that keeps it vibrant. This does not mean their love lacks seriousness, but that its seriousness is expressed through joy rather than solemnity. Jake shows that humour is not a distraction from love, but a glue that holds it together. By treating love as a partnership filled with laughter, he ensures that his relationship does not collapse under the weight of expectation. Playfulness becomes a philosophy of resilience, a way of keeping love alive in a world where chaos is constant. Yet their love is not without challenges. The history of conflict between dogs and rainicorns looms in the background of their relationship. Prejudice, cultural divides, and disapproving parents all threaten to make their bond difficult. But Jake's philosophy of partnership rises above these tensions. He does not deny the past, but he refuses to let it dictate the future. By choosing Lady Rainicorn, despite the weight of history, Jake demonstrates a philosophy of reconciliation. Love, for him, is an act of healing, a way of bridging divides that once seemed insurmountable. Their union becomes symbolic of the possibility of peace, not just for themselves, but for the world of Wu. This philosophy is put into practice when Jake and Lady Rainicorn become parents. Their children embody the merging of two lineages once divided by conflict, and Jake embraces fatherhood not with dread but with joy. His partnership with Lady Rainicorn grows deeper as they face the challenges of raising a family. Jake's philosophy of love here reveals another layer. Commitment is not only about staying together, but about growing together. The two adapt to the new reality of family life, supporting one another while letting their children find their own paths. Their partnership is not static, it evolves. Jake shows that love is not about clinging to what was, but about embracing what comes next. Jake's philosophy of partnership also extends into how he balances love with independence. While he adores Lady Rainicorn and builds a life with her, he never loses himself within the relationship. He remains Jake, playful, relaxed, mischievous. His philosophy suggests that true partnership does not erase individuality, but strengthens it. By staying true to himself, while also committing fully to his partner, Jake demonstrates that love is not about losing one's identity, but about sharing it. Lady Rainicorn, likewise, remains her own person, and together they form a partnership built on mutual freedom. In the broader context of Ooo, their relationship offers a striking contrast to others. Princess Bubblegum's relationships are often strained by her duties. Marceline's are marked by centuries of baggage, and Finn's are plagued by uncertainty. Jake and Lady Rainicorn's love, by comparison, feels refreshingly ordinary, and yet within that ordinariness lies its power. In a world of magic, war, and cosmic horror, theirs is a love that thrives not because it is extraordinary, but because it is steady. Jake's philosophy reveals that, in a chaotic world, stability can be the most profound form of love. Still, Jake's relaxed philosophy of love can sometimes slip into irresponsibility. There are moments when his casual attitude makes him less attentive than he should be, moments when Lady Rainicorn carries more of the burden. These flaws are part of what make their relationship believable. Jake's philosophy does not present love as perfect or effortless. Instead, it acknowledges that love requires patience, compromise, and the willingness to forgive. His imperfections become part of the partnership, reminding us that even the most loyal and devoted love is still human, or in this case, Dog and Rainicorn. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of Jake's philosophy of love and partnership is its quietness. He does not declare his love in grand speeches or make it the center of his identity. Instead, he shows it through actions, being present, building a family, standing by Lady Rainicorn, no matter the obstacles. His philosophy suggests that love does not need to be loud to be meaningful. In fact, the strongest loves are often those that grow quietly, patiently, and steadily over time. In the end, Jake the Dog's philosophy of love and partnership is a lesson in endurance, acceptance, and joy. He shows that love is not about overcoming every obstacle with drama, but about facing them together with humour and patience. He demonstrates that partnership is not about losing oneself, but about sharing oneself. He proves that playfulness is not a distraction from love, but a foundation for it. And most of all, he reveals that true love is not found in perfection, but in the commitment to show up again and again, no matter the chaos of the world. Jake and Lady Rainicorn's partnership is one of the most profound symbols in Ooo, a love that bridges species, heals divisions, and creates a new generation out of trust and devotion. It is not flashy, it is not tragic, and it is not cosmic, but it is real, enduring, and alive. In a world filled with uncertainty, Jake's philosophy of love reminds us that what matters most is not destiny or power, but the person you choose to share your life with and the laughter you share along the way. For much of his life, Jake the Dog embodies freedom. He naps when he wants, plays music when the mood strikes, and treats adventure as leisure rather than duty. But when he becomes a father, something shifts. Parenthood does not erase Jake's philosophy of chill, it expands it. Suddenly, his world is no longer just about naps, sandwiches, or even his loyalty to Finn. It is about shaping a new generation, beings who embody not only his legacy, but the reconciliation of two lineages once divided by conflict. In his children, Jake finds a joy deeper than relaxation or play. He discovers the philosophy of parenthood, acceptance, patience, and the willingness to let go. Jake and Lady Rainicorn's children are among the most fascinating figures in Ooo. Not because they are central heroes, but because they represent something larger than themselves. Born of two species once locked in war, they embody unity. Where history drew lines of division, these children erase them simply by existing. Jake recognizes this immediately. Instead of seeing their hybrid nature as a complication, he embraces it as possibility. Each of his children is unique, with their own quirks, personalities, and destinies, and Jake accepts them without hesitation. His philosophy of parenthood is not about molding them into a particular form, but about celebrating their diversity. This attitude contrasts sharply with the way many parents in Ooo, and in the real world, approach their children. Princess Bubblegum often treats her candy people as extensions of her will, trying to control their growth for the sake of stability. Marceline's father sought to shape her identity according to his own dark legacy. Jake, however, resists this instinct. He does not treat his children as extensions of himself, but as individuals with their own paths. His role as a father is not to impose, but to support. This reflects his broader philosophy. Freedom matters, and love means letting others become who they are, meant to be. Jake's relationship with his children also reflects his enduring playfulness. He treats fatherhood not as a burden, but as another adventure, filled with laughter and experimentation. His children grow up in a household where fun is constant, where music, jokes, and games are as much a part of learning as discipline or structure. In doing so, Jake demonstrates that parenthood does not require abandoning joy. Instead, it calls for deepening it. His philosophy suggests that children do not need perfection from their parents. They need presence, love, and the freedom to find joy in life. Of course, Jake's casual nature sometimes clashes with the responsibilities of fatherhood. His tendency to relax, avoid stress, or procrastinate can frustrate those who expect more structure. Lady Rainicorn often takes on the more practical side of parenting, ensuring that their children are safe and cared for in ways Jake might overlook. But even in these shortcomings, Jake's philosophy shines through. He shows that parenthood is not about flawless execution. It is about showing up, about offering love even when one falls short. His children learn not from his perfection, but from his authenticity. They see a father who is deeply imperfect, yet deeply devoted. A man who laughs, plays, and loves without reservation. Jake's philosophy of parenthood also involves a rare quality, the ability to let go. His children grow rapidly, maturing far faster than he expects. For many parents, this might create grief or denial. Jake, however, accepts it with grace. He acknowledges that children are not meant to be held onto forever. They are meant to grow, to change, to step into the world. Jake's willingness to let his children leave the nest reflects his broader philosophy of impermanence. He knows life is fleeting, that nothing stays the same, and he embraces this truth rather than resisting it. His joy in parenthood is not diminished by the speed of his children's growth. It is deepened by the knowledge that their independence is proof of success. In raising his children, Jake also demonstrates his philosophy of trust. He trusts them to make their own choices, to navigate the world in their own ways, and to carry forward the lessons of love and resilience he has modelled. This trust is not blind, but it is generous. By believing in his children, Jake gives them the confidence to believe in themselves. His philosophy suggests that trust is one of the most important gifts a parent can give, more important than control or protection. The symbolic weight of Jake's parenthood cannot be overstated. His children represent the healing of an ancient divide. They are living proof that love can overcome prejudice, that history does not need to define the future. Jake's joy in his children is also a joy in reconciliation. His philosophy of parenthood extends beyond his own family, offering a vision of unity for all of Ooo. Through his family, he demonstrates that the past can be rewritten not with war or politics, but with love and the creation of new life. Parenthood also deepens Jake's bond with Lady Rainicorn. Together, they face the challenges and joys of raising a family. Their partnership grows stronger as they balance responsibilities, share laughter, and adapt to the demands of their children. Jake's philosophy here emphasizes the collective nature of love. Parenthood is not a solo journey, but a shared adventure. By standing beside Lady Rainicorn, Jake shows that true partnership extends into the realm of family, transforming love into legacy. Jake's philosophy of parenthood also touches on mortality. His children remind him of the passage of time, of the inevitability of change, and of the continuity of life beyond his own. Rather than fear this, Jake embraces it. He finds comfort in knowing that his children will carry forward something of himself, even as they forge their own paths. In this sense, parenthood becomes a way of making peace with impermanence. Jake does not cling to the illusion of control over time. Instead, he celebrates the flow of life through generations. In the larger story of Ooo, Jake's parenthood stands as a rare example of stability and growth. While kingdoms rise and fall, while cosmic threats loom, Jake finds meaning in family. His philosophy suggests that even in a world of chaos, the most important legacy one can leave is not power or victory, but love passed down to children. Parenthood, for Jake, is not about creating heirs or continuing bloodlines. It is about nurturing joy, resilience, and acceptance in those who will inherit the world. Ultimately, Jake the dog's philosophy of parenthood is a philosophy of joy. He shows that being a parent is not about perfection, control, or fear of loss. It is about presence, laughter, and the willingness to let children grow into themselves. It is about trusting them, supporting them, and celebrating them, even as they move beyond you. For Jake, parenthood is not a burden to be carried, but a gift to be enjoyed. A new adventure that transforms his chill worldview into something richer, deeper, and more enduring. In his children, Jake finds not only joy, but meaning. They are proof that love can overcome division, that laughter can heal wounds, and that life continues beyond each individual. His philosophy of parenthood is not cosmic, not dramatic, but quietly profound. To love your children as they are, to trust them as they grow, and to find joy in every fleeting moment together. In a world defined by impermanence, Jake shows that the greatest legacy a parent can leave is not power or control, but love that endures through generations. In the land of Ooo, morality is often treated as something cosmic. Princess Bubblegum believes in the logic of order and responsibility. Finn wrestles with heroism, justice, and the weight of being the good guy. Even the villains, from the Ice King to the Lich, embody extremes of wrongness. But Jake the dog? His philosophy of morality is far more fluid. For Jake, there are no rigid rules or universal codes. Right and wrong are not dictated by ancient books, crowns, or kingdoms. Instead, They are matters of context, instinct, and above all, relationships. Jake's worldview embodies morality without absolutes, a philosophy rooted not in laws but in love, not in destiny but in the moment. From the start, Jake's sense of right and wrong is casual. He does not carry a sword like Finn, rushing into every situation with a conviction of justice. Instead, he often shrugs, jokes, or even suggests taking the easy route. This does not mean Jake is immoral. Rather, it reveals that his morality is not about abstract ideals. He does not fight monsters because they are evil in some cosmic sense. He fights them because they threaten his friends or disrupt the fragile peace of Ooo. His philosophy suggests that what matters is not whether an action conforms to a universal code, but whether it protects, helps, or sustains the people he loves. This moral flexibility is visible in his adventures with Finn. Finn sees himself as a hero, bound to fight injustice, protect the weak, and destroy evil wherever it appears. Jake, however, often advises him to slow down, to think about whether fighting is truly necessary, or to consider unconventional solutions. Sometimes, Jake even suggests avoiding conflict entirely, especially when the danger outweighs the reward. To Finn, this can feel like cowardice, but to Jake, it is wisdom. His morality does not demand constant action, it demands balance. For Jake, the right choice is the one that preserves life, laughter, and love, not the one that satisfies abstract notions of justice. One of the clearest expressions of Jake's flexible morality is his willingness to bend rules. He cheats at games, bends the truth, and uses his powers in playful, mischievous ways that skirt the line of propriety. Yet these acts are rarely malicious. They are part of his trickster nature, his way of keeping life light, and refusing to let rigid structures dominate him. In Jake's philosophy, rules exist to serve people, not the other way around. If bending a rule creates joy, avoids conflict, or protects someone he loves, then bending it is not wrong. This contrasts sharply with characters like Princess Bubblegum, who see rules and structures as essential to stability. Jake resists that rigidity, showing that sometimes breaking the rules is the most moral choice. Jake's morality without absolutes also reveals itself in how he treats enemies. While Finn often views villains in terms of black and white, to be defeated, punished, or redeemed, Jake is far more pragmatic. He does not waste time moralizing about the nature of evil. If someone poses a danger, he will fight them. If they stop being a danger, he is content to let them go. His morality does not require punishing enemies beyond necessity. Instead, it focuses on restoring balance, protecting loved ones, and moving forward. This pragmatic approach highlights his belief that morality is not about perfection, but about practicality. Yet, this flexibility is not without its dangers. Jake's refusal to take morality seriously can frustrate Finn, who often feels that his brother's casualness undermines the weight of their adventures. There are moments when Jake's willingness to shrug off ethical dilemmas comes across as irresponsibility. His philosophy risks sliding into apathy, the idea that nothing really matters, that choices are arbitrary. But Jake never fully tips into this void. His morality may lack absolutes, but it is anchored by loyalty. He may not care about cosmic justice, but he cares deeply about Finn, Lady Rainicorn, his children, and his friends. This loyalty ensures that his morality, though flexible, is never meaningless. This loyalty-based morality also distinguishes him from darker figures in Ooo. Characters like the Lich embody pure nihilism, treating life itself as meaningless. Jake, by contrast, fills life with meaning through bonds and love. His refusal to cling to absolutes does not make him empty, it makes him adaptable. He may not live by rules carved in stone, but he lives by devotion carved in his heart. In this way, Jake's philosophy reveals a middle path between rigidity and nihilism, morality as a living, breathing thing, shaped by love and laughter rather than by laws. Jake's approach to morality also influences his role as a mentor. When guiding Finn, he does not lecture about universal rights and wrongs. Instead, he encourages Finn to think for himself, to feel situations out, and to trust his instincts. Sometimes this leads to mistakes, but Jake does not fear mistakes. For him, morality is not about always being right, but about learning through living. This philosophy allows Finn to grow into his own moral compass rather than simply adopting Jake's. By refusing to impose absolutes, Jake gives Finn the freedom to wrestle with morality in his own way, a freedom that is essential to true growth. His philosophy also emerges in his personal indulgences. Jake loves food, naps, music, and fun, often prioritizing these pleasures even in the midst of greater struggles. Some might call this selfishness, but Jake reframes it as balance. His morality suggests that joy is not trivial, it is essential. Denying oneself happiness does not make one more virtuous, it only makes life emptier. By indulging in joy while still supporting his loved ones, Jake shows that morality includes the responsibility to care for oneself as well as others. His philosophy reminds us that sacrifice without joy leads to burnout, while joy without responsibility leads to selfishness. The balance between the two is where true morality lies. In the broader context of Wu, Jake's philosophy of morality without absolutes provides a necessary counterpoint to the extremes of others. Princess Bubblegum's rigid logic often traps her in utilitarian dilemmas where the greater good justifies harsh decisions. Finn's youthful heroism sometimes blinds him to nuance. Marceline's cynicism pulls her toward detachment. Jake offers something simpler, morality as love in action, without the baggage of absolutes. His way may not always provide clear answers, but it provides compassion, humour, and resilience. In a world defined by contradictions and chaos, Jake's philosophy offers a path that is flexible enough to survive. Ultimately, Jake the dog's morality without absolutes reveals one of the deepest truths about his character: that right and wrong are not carved in stone, but lived in relationships. He does not claim to know universal truths, nor does he try to enforce them. Instead, he trusts his instincts, his love, and his loyalty to guide him. His philosophy is imperfect, sometimes careless, but profoundly human. It acknowledges that life is messy, that choices are rarely simple, and that love matters more than law. In the end, Jake's philosophy teaches that morality does not have to be absolute to be meaningful. What matters is not whether one always acts according to rigid codes, but whether one acts with love, loyalty, and joy. By rejecting absolutes, Jake embraces a morality that is alive, flexible, and rooted in the heart. And in the ever-shifting chaos of Wu, perhaps this is the most honest morality of all. Jake the dog is known for many things: his loyalty, his shape, shifting powers, his laid-back attitude, his humour. But beneath all these traits runs another essential thread: his unapologetic love of food, fun, and simple pleasures. For Jake, these aren't just indulgences, they are a philosophy of life. Where many characters in Wu devote themselves to duty, destiny, or power, Jake reminds us that joy itself is a form of wisdom. His embrace of food, fun and pleasure is not laziness or gluttony, but a deliberate choice to value the everyday moments that make life worth living. Food is one of Jake's most defining loves. Whether it's bacon, pancakes, elaborate sandwiches, or wild experiments with ingredients found in dungeons, Jake approaches eating not as a necessity, but as an art and a joy. Cooking is not just about survival for him, it's about creativity. In the kitchen, Jake becomes a kind of philosopher chef, showing that meals can be more than fuel. They can be experiences, ways of expressing love, and acts of play. He often cooks for Finn, for Lady Rainicorn, and for his children, using food to connect, to comfort, and to celebrate. In this, Jake reveals one of his core beliefs. Pleasure shared is greater than pleasure hoarded. Jake's love of food also reflects his broader outlook on life. Savor what you have. While Princess Bubblegum spends her days managing kingdoms and scientific experiments, and Finn focuses on quests and heroism, Jake finds meaning in the simple act of preparing and enjoying a meal. His philosophy suggests that life is not only about the grand battles or the cosmic mysteries, but about the ordinary moments that sustain us. Eating together, laughing together, and enjoying something delicious is as valuable, perhaps even more valuable, than chasing glory. By elevating food into a source of joy, Jake reminds those around him that happiness can be found in the smallest things. Pleasure, for Jake, extends far beyond food. Music is another cornerstone of his philosophy. He plays instruments, sings, and embraces sound as a way of expressing himself. Music, like food, is a form of joy that he loves to share. In a world as chaotic as Ooo, Jake's music creates pockets of peace, reminding everyone that art and creativity are essential to survival. Through music, Jake shows that fun is not trivial. It is a form of resistance against despair, a way of saying that even in the face of darkness, beauty still exists. Jake's philosophy of pleasure also manifests in his love of relaxation. He naps often, stretches out under the sun, and enjoys leisure without shame. In a culture, even within Ooo, that often glorifies action, progress, and heroism, Jake's refusal to feel guilty about resting is quietly radical. He shows that rest is not wasted time, but part of living well. His naps, his lounging, his unhurried attitude, all are expressions of his belief that life should not be a constant struggle. To Jake, rest is not the absence of life, it is part of life's fullness. Some might dismiss Jake's pleasure, seeking as laziness or indulgence, but this perspective misses the deeper truth of his philosophy. Jake does not pursue pleasure at the expense of others. He does not abandon his responsibilities or betray his loved ones in the name of fun. Instead, he weaves pleasure into his responsibilities, ensuring that joy and duty coexist. When he cooks for others. When he plays music, he plays for his friends. When he naps, he often does so in the safety and comfort of companionship. His pleasures are communal, not selfish. This distinction makes his philosophy more than mere indulgence. It makes it a celebration of connection. Jake's relationship with food and fun also reveals his creative spirit. He constantly invents new dishes, new jokes, new songs, and new ways to entertain himself and others. For him, fun is not passive, it is active creation. His philosophy suggests that pleasure is not only about consuming, but also about making. To cook, to play, to laugh, these are acts of participation in the world. They are ways of shaping life into something joyful. Jake does not sit back and wait for fun to arrive. He creates it, and in doing so, he teaches others to do the same. This philosophy of pleasure also ties into Jake's resilience. In the face of danger, fear, or loss, he often turns to humor, food, or fun as a way of coping. His philosophy suggests that pleasure is not escapism, but survival. By finding joy, even in dark times, Jake refuses to let despair define him. He shows that pleasure is a form of courage, a refusal to surrender to fear. Whether facing cosmic threats or personal struggles, Jake uses food, fun, and pleasure as shields, not to deny reality, but to endure it. His approach to pleasure also influences his role as a father. Jake fills his children's lives with joy, ensuring that they grow up surrounded not only by love, but by laughter. He teaches them that fun is not frivolous, but essential, that pleasure is part of resilience. By raising his children in a household filled with play, music, and food, he passes on his philosophy to the next generation. In this way, Jake ensures that his legacy is not only about loyalty or adventure, but about joy as a way of life. In the broader story of Ooo, Jake's philosophy of food, fun, and pleasure provides a vital counterbalance. Many characters are consumed by duty, destiny, or despair. Princess Bubblegum sacrifices joy for responsibility. Marceline wrestles with centuries of loss. Finn struggles with his identity as a hero. Jake, by contrast, insists that life should be fun, that joy is not a distraction, but a necessity. His philosophy reminds everyone, characters and viewers alike, that pleasure is not shallow. It is what gives life depth, texture, and meaning. Yet Jake's philosophy is not without its flaws. His pursuit of fun sometimes leads him to neglect responsibilities or to underestimate the seriousness of situations. His tendency to prioritize pleasure frustrates Finn when urgency is needed. But these flaws do not undermine his philosophy. They humanize it. Jake's imperfections remind us that pleasure is not always easy to balance with duty. The struggle itself is part of the wisdom, learning when to indulge and when to act. His occasional missteps highlight the truth that pleasure, like all things, must be tempered with care. Ultimately, Jake the dog's philosophy of food, fun, and pleasure is a declaration that life is meant to be lived fully. He shows that joy is not trivial, that laughter is not weakness, and that pleasure is not sin. In his cooking, his music, his naps, and his jokes, Jake embodies the belief that happiness is not something to be postponed until after the battle is won. It is something to be embraced, here and now, in every bite, every note, every laugh. In the end, Jake's philosophy is simple, yet profound. Life is short, the world is strange, and joy is precious. Food, fun, and pleasure are not distractions from the journey, they are the journey. By embracing them without shame, Jake reminds us all that happiness is not found in destiny or duty, but in the everyday moments that make life sweet. Few characters in Ooo embody their worldview as literally as Jake the dog. His body is not fixed, not limited by bones or skin in the way others are. It is fluid, elastic, and ever-changing. Jake can stretch to impossible lengths, shrink to the size of a bug, inflate into a balloon, or twist himself into absurd forms that defy reason. These powers are often used for comedy or convenience, but at a deeper level, they reveal Jake's philosophy, that identity, strength, and survival depend on adaptability. His body is not just a tool, it is a metaphor for his way of life. To understand Jake is to understand how his physical flexibility reflects his philosophy of freedom, resilience, and play. From the beginning, Jake uses his shape-shifting with casual ease. Where other heroes might treat extraordinary powers as burdens or symbols of destiny, Jake treats his abilities like toys. He stretches to grab food from across the room, inflates to give Finn a ride, or morphs into ridiculous disguises to amuse himself. This playfulness reveals a truth about Jake's philosophy. Power is not something to be feared or worshipped. It is something to be enjoyed. By using his body in humorous, light-hearted ways, Jake refuses to let power corrupt or overwhelm him. His elasticity is an extension of his belief that life should be fun and that strength can coexist with silliness. Yet Jake's body is not only about play, it is about survival. His elasticity makes him nearly indestructible, able to withstand blows that would shatter others. In battle, he bends instead of breaking, turning his body into shields, weapons, or entire fortresses. This resilience reflects his deeper philosophy. Adaptability is strength. Where rigid things shatter under pressure, flexible things endure. Jake's powers embody his belief that survival comes not from resisting change, but from embracing it. Just as his body flows with whatever form is needed, his mind flows with whatever situation arises. His philosophy is not about rigidity, but about movement, a way of living that bends with life's challenges instead of fighting against them. This philosophy also shapes Jake's approach to identity. Unlike characters who cling to a fixed sense of self, Jake embodies fluidity. He does not fear becoming something else, literally. He transforms into monsters, objects, or strange forms without hesitation. His comfort with shifting identities suggests a philosophy of acceptance, that change is not something to fear, but something to embrace. Jake shows that identity is not static, but elastic, capable of growth and transformation. His body mirrors his mind, both willing to stretch into new possibilities without losing their core essence. Jake's shape-shifting also symbolizes his role as a connector. His body often bridges gaps, literally forming structures that allow Finn and others to cross chasms or climb mountains. This reflects his relational philosophy. He exists to support, to carry, to help others reach places they could not reach alone. His elasticity is not only for himself, but for his loved ones. In this sense, Jake's body is an embodiment of loyalty, stretching to hold up those he cares about. His philosophy suggests that true strength is not only about what one can endure for oneself, but about what one can provide for others. His powers also connect to his trickster nature. Jake often uses his shape-shifting to deceive, amuse, or outwit enemies. By refusing to present himself as one fixed form, he constantly destabilizes the expectations of those around him. This reflects a deeper philosophy. Reality is not as rigid as it seems. Jake's body is proof that boundaries can be blurred, rules can be bent, and the impossible can become possible. His elasticity becomes a metaphor for imagination itself, the idea that life is not confined to one shape, but open to infinite possibilities. At times, Jake's powers also highlight the flaws of his philosophy. His casual use of shape-shifting sometimes leads him to underestimate danger or rely too heavily on his abilities. His relaxed attitude toward his body mirrors his relaxed attitude toward responsibility, which can frustrate those around him. Yet even in these flaws, his body reflects his truth. Life is not about perfection, but about flexibility. Mistakes are not the end of the world. Like his body, he can always stretch, adapt, and try again. Jake's philosophy of the body also carries symbolic weight in the context of Ooo. Many characters embody rigidity, Princess Bubblegum, with her strict logic, the Lich, with his unyielding pursuit of death, even Finn, with his youthful obsession with heroic identity. Jake, by contrast, embodies fluidity. His body shows that survival and meaning come not from holding tightly to one form, but from flowing with change. In a land defined by chaos and transformation, Jake's elasticity is the perfect metaphor for resilience. He thrives not because he resists change, but because he embraces it. This elasticity also resonates in his relationships. With Finn, his ability to transform into vehicles, shields, or tools reflects his role as protector and partner. With Lady Rainicorn, his playful use of his body mirrors the humour and lightness of their love. With his children, his elasticity becomes a source of joy, entertainment, and comfort. His philosophy of the body is not just personal, but communal, extending into every bond he shares. Jake's powers remind us that bodies, and by extension, lives, are not fixed containers, but dynamic expressions of connection and care. On a deeper level, Jake's body raises questions about mortality and impermanence. If his body can be anything, what does it mean to have a true form? If he can bend and stretch endlessly, does he fear breaking? Jake rarely confronts these questions directly, but his philosophy of acceptance suggests that he does not cling to one form as his identity. Instead, he lives comfortably in change, embracing impermanence as part of existence. His elasticity becomes not only a power, but a meditation on what it means to live without fear of transformation. In the broader philosophy of Adventure Time, Jake's body stands as a metaphor for adaptability in a world of instability. Ooo is unpredictable, filled with sudden dangers, bizarre creatures, and shifting realities. Jake's powers embody the wisdom needed to survive such a world. Do not resist change, become change. His philosophy teaches that to live well, one must be elastic, in body, in mind, and in spirit. Ultimately, Jake the dog's body is more than a source of jokes or convenience. It is his philosophy made flesh. His elasticity symbolizes his belief in play, resilience, and freedom. His shape-shifting reflects his comfort with change, his loyalty to others, and his refusal to be confined by rigid identities. In a world where many cling to absolutes, Jake's body shows that life is fluid and that true strength lies not in resisting transformation, but in embracing it. In the end, Jake's philosophy of the body is a reminder that we, too, are not fixed. We can stretch, adapt, and grow. We can bend without breaking. We can choose to see our bodies not as prisons, but as possibilities. For Jake, this philosophy is second nature. He lives it with every stretch, every transformation, every playful twist. His body is his wisdom, and his wisdom is his body, a celebration of life's elasticity, resilience, and endless potential. Jake the dog lives by a philosophy of chill, freedom, and play. But beneath the laughter and the naps lies one of his greatest struggles, responsibility. For all his wisdom, loyalty, and adaptability, Jake often resists responsibility with everything he has. He avoids commitments when they feel heavy, shirks duties that require discipline, and sometimes hides behind humour or laziness to escape the weight of expectations. This fear of responsibility does not make Jake weak or unworthy. It makes him deeply human. His philosophy of life is shaped as much by what he avoids as by what he embraces. To understand Jake fully, we must look at his uneasy relationship with responsibility and what it reveals about his worldview. From the start, Jake shows a tendency to sidestep obligations. When chores need to be done, when problems require careful planning, or when others expect him to take charge, Jake often shrugs and looks for the easy way out. He would rather nap than organize, laugh than worry, and stretch around a problem than confront it directly. This avoidance is not simple laziness. It reflects a deeper philosophy. For Jake, responsibility represents a trap, a force that threatens to take away his freedom, his joy, and his ability to live in the moment. By resisting responsibility, he protects the carefree spirit that defines him. Yet Jake's fear of responsibility is not absolute. When his loved ones are in danger, he acts immediately, throwing himself into battle without hesitation. His avoidance disappears the moment Finn's life is on the line, or when Lady Rainicorn and their children need him. This contrast reveals the complexity of Jake's philosophy. He avoids responsibility when it feels abstract, imposed, or distant, but he embraces it when it is grounded in love. Responsibility tied to duty feels suffocating to Jake. Responsibility tied to relationships feels natural. This distinction explains why he sometimes frustrates Princess Bubblegum, who embodies responsibility as duty to a kingdom, while remaining steadfastly loyal to Finn, whose needs are personal and immediate. Jake's fear of responsibility also appears in his role as a mentor. While he is deeply influential in Finn's life, he rarely takes the role of teacher seriously. Instead of structured lessons, he offers casual advice, playful experiments, or even misdirection. He prefers to let Finn learn by doing rather than by following rigid instructions. This approach reflects both his wisdom and his avoidance. On one hand, it gives Finn freedom to grow into his own hero. On the other, it reveals Jake's reluctance to bear the full weight of being a guide. Teaching requires discipline, foresight, and accountability, qualities Jake resists. His philosophy is one of presence rather than control. He is there for Finn, but he avoids the responsibility of shaping Finn too directly. Parenthood, too, forces Jake to confront his fear of responsibility. As a father, he cannot completely avoid the demands of care and protection. Lady Rainicorn often shoulders more of the practical duties, while Jake brings play, laughter, and warmth. This balance works, but it also exposes Jake's limits. His children grow rapidly, and Jake must quickly accept that he cannot control or fully protect them. In a way, this reality suits his philosophy. He believes in letting others find their own paths, but it also allows him to sidestep responsibility when it becomes overwhelming. Jake's parenthood reveals a tension. He loves deeply, but he fears the discipline and sacrifice that long-term responsibility demands. His philosophy of chill helps him avoid burnout, but it also risks leaving others to pick up the slack. This avoidance can cause frustration for those around him. Finn, driven by ideals of heroism, often feels let down by Jake's lack of seriousness. Princess Bubblegum, burdened by her endless duties, sometimes sees Jake as unreliable. Even Lady Rainicorn, who loves him, must occasionally compensate for his relaxed attitude. These tensions highlight the shadow side of Jake's philosophy. While chill and freedom bring joy, they can also drift into irresponsibility. Jake's avoidance of responsibility is not always harmless. It can place extra weight on others. His philosophy risks becoming self-centered if not balanced by his loyalty. Yet Jake's fear of responsibility also carries wisdom. He recognizes something that others often forget. Responsibility can consume. Princess Bubblegum sacrifices joy and freedom to the endless weight of ruling. Finn, in his quest to be a hero, often pushes himself to exhaustion. Even Marceline, though more rebellious, is haunted by the responsibilities of her past. Jake sees these burdens and chooses another path. His avoidance is not always cowardice, sometimes it is resistance. By refusing to be crushed by duty, he preserves the joy, humour, and presence that define him. His philosophy suggests that responsibility should never eclipse life itself. This does not mean Jake denies responsibility altogether. Instead, he redefines it. For him, responsibility is not about abstract duty or rigid obligation. It is about loyalty to people. He does not care about kingdoms, laws, or cosmic orders. He cares about Finn, Lady Rainicorn, his children, and his friends. His philosophy transforms responsibility from something external into something internal, from rules imposed by others into love freely chosen. This is why Jake, despite his avoidance, always rises when it truly matters. His fear of responsibility may keep him from chores or duties, but it never keeps him from protecting those he loves. Jake's fear also reveals a truth about balance. Absolute responsibility, like that carried by Princess Bubblegum, leads to rigidity and sacrifice. Absolute avoidance leads to neglect. Jake struggles between these extremes, sometimes failing, sometimes succeeding, but always searching for a middle ground. His philosophy suggests that the healthiest life is not one of endless responsibility or endless freedom, but a balance of both. Chill and duty must coexist. Joy and sacrifice must share the same space. Jake's imperfections show how difficult this balance can be, but they also make his philosophy more real. He does not offer perfection, he offers humanity. In the grand narrative of Ooo, Jake's fear of responsibility provides a counterpoint to the heavy themes of destiny and duty. Where Finn is driven by the weight of being a hero, and Princess Bubblegum by the burden of leadership, Jake stands as a reminder that responsibility, while important, should not consume life. His philosophy suggests that joy, freedom, and love are just as essential as duty. He teaches that responsibility must be chosen, not imposed, and that it must serve people, not enslave them. Ultimately, Jake the dog's fear of responsibility is not a flaw to be erased, but a philosophy to be understood. It reveals his resistance to being confined, his devotion to freedom, and his belief that responsibility is only meaningful when tied to love. He shows that it is possible to care deeply without surrendering joy, to be loyal without being crushed by duty. His philosophy may frustrate those who demand rigid responsibility, but it also frees those who are weighed down by it. In the end, Jake teaches that responsibility is not about carrying every burden. It is about knowing which burdens matter and carrying them with love. His fear of responsibility reminds us that life is not only about duty, but about joy, and that true responsibility is not imposed by law or destiny, but chosen in the heart. Jake the dog is many things: trickster, partner, father, adventurer, but perhaps one of his most enduring roles is that of mentor. From the earliest days of adventuring alongside Finn, Jake serves as both guide and companion, shaping Finn's growth not through lectures or rigid training, but through trust, humour, and lived experience. His mentoring style is unconventional, sometimes careless, even frustrating, but within it lies a distinct philosophy. Jake does not believe in moulding others according to rules. He believes in giving them space, supporting them in their mistakes, and offering wisdom in the most unexpected ways. To understand Jake as a mentor is to understand his philosophy of teaching, one rooted in freedom, trust, and the belief that learning comes from living, not from instruction manuals. From the beginning, Finn looks up to Jake as more than a brother. Jake is his role model, protector, and the closest thing to a parental figure. Yet Jake never approaches this responsibility with the heavy hand of authority. He does not tell Finn what to do at every turn, nor does he enforce strict codes of behaviour. Instead, he often lets Finn stumble, encouraging him to figure things out for himself. At first glance, this may look like negligence, but it reflects Jake's core belief that growth cannot be forced. Just as his own body stretches and adapts, he believes Finn's journey must stretch and adapt naturally. Jake's mentoring is less about shaping Finn into the right kind of hero, and more about giving him the freedom to discover his own path. One of Jake's most notable mentoring qualities is his use of humour. He cracks jokes in the middle of danger, offers bizarre advice, or distracts Finn from his anxieties with food and fun. On the surface, this might seem unhelpful, but humour serves as a tool for teaching. By keeping Finn relaxed, Jake prevents him from becoming overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility. He teaches Finn that even in the midst of peril, it is possible to laugh, to breathe, and to keep perspective. Humour, in Jake's philosophy, is not an escape from seriousness, but a way of surviving it. Jake's mentorship also relies on trust. Unlike Princess Bubblegum, who often micromanages those around her, Jake trusts Finn to make decisions, even risky ones. He does not interfere unless absolutely necessary. This trust allows Finn to develop confidence and independence. By stepping back, Jake communicates a powerful lesson that true guidance does not mean control. It means believing in someone's ability to navigate the world, even if they sometimes stumble. Jake's willingness to let Finn fail is not carelessness, it is faith. In Jake's philosophy, failure is not the end of learning, it is part of it. At times, Jake's mentoring is chaotic. He gives advice that is confusing, contradictory, or seemingly nonsensical. He tells Finn to follow his gut, to relax, or to take the easy way out. Sometimes this advice helps, sometimes it backfires. But even in its failures, Jake's teaching style holds value. He forces Finn to think critically, to evaluate situations for himself, and to decide when to listen and when to disregard. In this way, Jake teaches not through answers, but through questions disguised as jokes, riddles, or careless remarks. His philosophy reflects the trickster archetype, wisdom hidden in mischief, guidance hidden in nonsense. Yet Jake's mentoring is not without flaws. His tendency to avoid responsibility means he sometimes neglects moments when Finn needs direct guidance. His relaxed style can leave Finn frustrated, feeling unsupported or misunderstood. Jake's avoidance of seriousness, while protective, can also leave Finn carrying the emotional weight of heroism alone. These shortcomings reveal the limitations of Jake's philosophy. While freedom and trust are powerful tools, they must be balanced with presence and responsibility. Jake sometimes falters in this balance, but his imperfections make his role as mentor all the more real. He is not an idealized teacher, but a flawed human one. Despite these flaws, Jake's influence on Finn is undeniable. He shapes Finn into a hero who values creativity over brute force, compassion over blind justice, and humour over despair. Jake's mentoring ensures that Finn does not become hardened by the trials of Ooo, but remains open, adaptable, and resilient. In Finn, we see the fruits of Jake's philosophy, a hero who can fight fiercely, love deeply, and laugh in the face of chaos. Jake may not be a traditional mentor, but his unorthodox methods leave an indelible mark on Finn's character. Jake's role as a mentor also extends beyond Finn. With his children, he adopts a similar philosophy of freedom and acceptance. He does not attempt to mould them into copies of himself. Instead, he encourages them to explore, to grow in their own directions, and to define their own identities. His philosophy of mentorship, whether with Finn or with his children, is consistent: trust, play, and the willingness to let others find their way. His influence can also be seen in his relationships with Princess Bubblegum and Marceline. While he does not mentor them in the same direct sense, his humour, presence, and relaxed perspective often provide guidance when they are consumed by their own burdens. Jake's philosophy suggests that mentorship is not always about formal teaching, but about being a steady presence, offering perspective when others are lost in seriousness. He mentors not only through words, but through the example of how he lives: relaxed, loyal, playful, and resilient. In the broader philosophy of Wu, Jake's mentoring style stands out as an alternative to the heavy-handed guidance offered by others. Princess Bubblegum represents order, control, and discipline. Marceline often teaches through rebellion and chaos. Jake offers a middle way: guidance through presence, humour, and trust. His philosophy suggests that mentorship does not need to dominate or dictate. It can support, encourage, and accompany. This gentler form of teaching may not always look effective, but its results are lasting. Ultimately, Jake the dog's role as mentor reveals one of his deepest philosophies: that people learn best not by being told what to do, but by being trusted to live. His mentoring style is messy, playful, and flawed, but it is rooted in love. He teaches through laughter, through mistakes, through presence. He shows that guidance is not about control, but about freedom, not about perfection, but about trust. In the end, Jake proves that the best mentors are not always the most disciplined or the most serious. Sometimes the best mentors are those who sit beside you, crack a joke, share a meal, and remind you that life, no matter how strange or difficult, is still worth enjoying. His philosophy of mentorship is a philosophy of companionship, one that transforms teaching from an obligation into an act of love. Jake the dog may live with a philosophy of chill, humour, and pleasure, but even he cannot escape the shadow of mortality. Adventure Time often circles around the fragility of existence. Kingdoms crumble, heroes falter, and even immortals like Marceline wrestle with the weight of endless years. Jake, though blessed with incredible powers and a light-hearted spirit, is no exception. His story reveals a quieter, subtler engagement with mortality. Unlike Finn, who charges into existential questions with youthful intensity, or Princess Bubblegum, who tries to control the inevitability of decay through science and order, Jake accepts impermanence. He does not seek to conquer death or deny change. Instead, his philosophy embraces the flow of time. Life is fleeting, but that fleetingness makes it beautiful. Jake rarely talks directly about death, but his actions reveal his philosophy. He does not obsess over legacy, nor does he fear aging. He lives in the moment, savouring food, naps, and laughter, as if each were enough. This acceptance is not ignorance, but wisdom. Jake knows that nothing lasts forever, not adventures, not kingdoms, not even families. Rather than despair over this, he leans into it. His philosophy suggests that impermanence is not a tragedy, but a reminder to value what we have while it's here. Every meal, every song, every adventure with Finn is precious, precisely because it will not last forever. This perspective is most visible in his relationship with his children. They grow at an accelerated rate, becoming adults almost as quickly as Jake adjusts to fatherhood. Many parents might grieve this rapid loss of childhood, clinging desperately to moments that vanish in an instant. Jake, however, accepts it with grace. He acknowledges that children are not meant to stay the same, that their growth is part of life's rhythm. His philosophy of impermanence allows him to celebrate their independence rather than fear it. He lets go not because he does not care, But because he understands that love is not about holding on forever, it is about supporting growth, even when it means change. Jake's acceptance of mortality also shapes how he approaches danger. While Finn often throws himself into battles with the conviction that he must defeat every enemy, Jake is less concerned with victory at all costs. He fights bravely when needed, but he does not fear failure or death in the same way. His humour in the face of danger reflects his deeper philosophy. Fear does not prevent death, it only prevents life. By laughing in peril, Jake robs mortality of its power. He shows that courage is not only about swinging swords or defeating monsters, it is about living fully, even in the presence of mortality. This acceptance of impermanence also appears in his relationship with Lady Rainicorn. Their love is steady, enduring, and joyful, yet Jake never treats it as permanent in the sense of unchanging. He knows their lives, like all lives, will eventually end. Rather than obsessing over this inevitability, he embraces each moment they share. Their love is made more meaningful by its impermanence. Jake's philosophy suggests that love is not diminished by the knowledge that it will one day end. It is intensified by it. To love with the awareness of mortality is to love more fully, not less. Jake's casual attitude toward death can sometimes frustrate others. Finn, for instance, often feels the weight of mortality as a heavy burden, driving him to fight harder, search deeper, and demand answers about the meaning of life. Jake, by contrast, shrugs and jokes. His refusal to dwell on mortality can seem dismissive, even irresponsible. Yet this contrast reveals the value of his philosophy. While Finn's urgency pushes him toward growth, Jake's acceptance keeps him from collapsing under the weight of questions too big to answer. Together, they balance one another. Finn's intensity drives their adventures forward, while Jake's acceptance keeps them grounded. Jake's philosophy of impermanence also connects to his powers. His body, endlessly shifting and changing, mirrors the truth that nothing is fixed. He stretches, shrinks, and transforms without resistance, embodying the idea that to live well is to flow with change. His elasticity becomes a metaphor for his acceptance of impermanence. Just as his body adapts to any shape, his spirit adapts to the changes of life and time. He does not resist change, he becomes it. In the broader context of Ooo, Jake's acceptance of mortality stands in contrast to many of the world's figures. The Lich embodies death as annihilation, seeking to erase life entirely. Princess Bubblegum treats death as a problem to be solved through science and control. Marceline wrestles with immortality, burdened by centuries of memory. Finn confronts mortality with restlessness, always searching for meaning. Jake, however, chooses a simpler path, acceptance. He does not deny death, nor does he worship it. He acknowledges it and moves forward with a smile. His philosophy is not cosmic or dramatic. It is lived in naps, meals, and laughter. It is ordinary, and in that ordinariness lies its profundity. This acceptance of impermanence also shapes Jake's legacy. Unlike heroes who obsess over how they will be remembered, Jake is unconcerned. His focus is on living, not on being immortalized. He knows that memories fade, stories shift, and legacies change. What matters is not the permanence of reputation, but the depth of love shared in the moment. His philosophy suggests that legacy is not what people remember about you after you're gone, but the lives you touched while you were here. By loving Finn, Lady Rainicorn, his children, and his friends, Jake ensures that his existence has meaning, whether or not his name endures. Of course, Jake's acceptance of mortality is not without fear. There are rare moments when his composure cracks, when the reality of death unsettles him. These glimpses reveal that his philosophy is not built on denial but on practice. He feels fear, but he chooses to move through it with humour and acceptance. This makes his philosophy more authentic. He is not immune to mortality. He simply refuses to let it rule him. His humour, his playfulness, and his chill are not ways of avoiding death, but ways of living with it. Ultimately, Jake the dog's philosophy of mortality and impermanence is one of acceptance and joy. He shows that life's fleeting nature is not a curse, but a gift. Impermanence makes each moment valuable, each laugh precious, each love profound. By accepting mortality, Jake frees himself from the paralysis of fear and embraces the fullness of life. His philosophy teaches that the point of existence is not to outlast death, but to enjoy life while it lasts. In the end, Jake's approach to mortality may be the most profound part of his philosophy. He does not fight death like Finn, deny it like Bubblegum, or brood over it like Marceline. He accepts it, laughs at it, and keeps on stretching forward. His philosophy reminds us that impermanence is the essence of life, and that to live well is to embrace it. For Jake, the answer to mortality is simple: love deeply, laugh often, and enjoy every fleeting moment. Most of the time, Jake the dog lives with his paws planted firmly in the here and now. He naps, he eats, he stretches, he jokes. He is content with the everyday joys of life in OO. But every so often, Jake drifts into something much stranger. He slips into dream realms, communes with bizarre cosmic entities, or glimpses alternate selves that reveal the strangeness of his existence. These encounters are not as frequent or dramatic as Finn's heroic trials, nor as consuming as Princess Bubblegum's quests for control. Yet they add a profound layer to Jake's philosophy. They show us that while Jake does not seek the secrets of the universe, he still stumbles into them, and when he does, he responds with the same chill acceptance that defines his entire worldview. Jake's brushes with the cosmic often come through his dream life. Unlike most, his dreams are not just subconscious wanderings, but gateways into surreal and mystical dimensions. He drifts into visions where his powers, identity, and even his place in the cosmos are tested. In these spaces, many characters might panic, search for meaning, or spiral into existential dread. Jake, however, usually just rolls with it. He does not deny the strangeness, but he does not let it overwhelm him either. His philosophy suggests that the mysteries of the universe are not puzzles to be solved, but experiences to be lived. Dreams, for Jake, are just another playground, a reminder that reality is as elastic as his own body. One of the most fascinating aspects of Jake's cosmic encounters is how they reveal his fluid identity. Through visions of alternate selves or strange transformations, Jake confronts versions of himself that are larger, darker, or more complex than his everyday persona. Yet, instead of fearing these revelations, he accepts them. He laughs at them, embraces them, or simply shrugs and moves on. Where others might obsess over what these visions mean, Jake sees them as natural extensions of his Proses2.com elasticity. His philosophy suggests that the self is not fixed but infinite, and that cosmic revelations are not threats to identity, but confirmations of its fluidity. Jake's encounters with cosmic entities further highlight this philosophy. When faced with beings far beyond mortal comprehension, Jake rarely reacts with awe or terror. He treats them almost the same way he treats everyone else, with humour, curiosity, and calm. His attitude reflects a profound truth. The universe is vast and unknowable, but fear does not make it less so. By meeting the cosmic with chill acceptance, Jake demonstrates a philosophy of humility and adaptability. He does not pretend to master the universe, nor does he cower before it. He simply flows with it, like a leaf in the current. This approach contrasts sharply with the philosophies of others in Ooh. Princess Bubblegum seeks to understand and control the cosmos through science. Finn confronts it with bravery, demanding meaning and clarity. Marceline treats it with a mix of cynicism and detachment. The Lich embodies the void of annihilation. Jake, however, occupies a different space. He does not demand, control, or deny. He accepts. His cosmic philosophy is not about answers, but about perspective. The universe is strange, but that strangeness is part of its beauty. Jake's brushes with the cosmic also reveal the limits of his philosophy. At times, the vastness unsettles him. Even he cannot entirely laugh away the strangeness of existence. There are moments when Jake's relaxed composure falters, when he glimpses something so alien that even his elasticity feels small. These moments remind us that Jake is not invulnerable, either physically or philosophically. His philosophy of acceptance is a choice, not a shield. He feels fear, confusion, and even doubt. But what makes Jake remarkable is that he always returns to his center, to humor, love, and presence. He acknowledges the strangeness without letting it consume him. Jake's cosmic philosophy also emerges in how he teaches Finn about the unknown. Rather than offering concrete answers, Jake encourages Finn to relax, to not overthink, and to let experiences unfold. This is not to dismiss Finn's questions, but to balance them. Finn's drive to understand the universe can lead to obsession. Jake's philosophy of acceptance provides a counterweight. In this way, Jake serves as a cosmic guide without ever claiming to be one. His lesson is simple. The unknown is not always meant to be solved. Sometimes it is meant to be lived. His elasticity further ties him to the cosmic. His body is a constant reminder that the laws of reality are not as fixed as they seem. In this sense, Jake himself is a cosmic being, not in the grandiose, terrifying way of the Lich, but in the playful, flexible way of possibility. His body, his dreams, and his encounters all suggest that the boundary between the mundane and the cosmic is thin, and that laughter may be the best way to walk across it. In the broader tapestry of Adventure Time, Jake's brushes with the cosmic provide a balance to the show's existential themes. Where other characters wrestle with meaning, death, and the void, Jake embodies a gentler truth, that the cosmos does not need to be conquered or feared. It can be embraced, joked with, even enjoyed. His philosophy is not about denying mystery, but about coexisting with it. By doing so, he transforms the cosmic from something terrifying into something strangely comforting. Ultimately, Jake the dog's cosmic philosophy is an extension of his entire worldview. He treats the vastness of existence the same way he treats a meal, a nap, or a joke, as part of life's flow. He does not cling to answers, nor does he collapse under questions. He stretches with the universe, adapts to its strangeness, and keeps laughing. In his brushes with the cosmic, Jake teaches us that the greatest wisdom is sometimes the simplest. The universe is vast, life is short, and the best response to both is to live fully in the moment. In the end, Jake's cosmic encounters remind us that the unknown is not something to fear, but something to embrace. He shows that even in the face of incomprehensible vastness, we can choose joy. His philosophy is not about solving the mysteries of the universe, but about dancing with them, stretching with them, and laughing with them. And perhaps that is the deepest cosmic wisdom of all. Jake the dog is not just a philosopher of chill, love, or humour. He is also a philosopher of balance. In a land like Ooo, where chaos and order constantly clash, Jake's role is often that of the mediator, the one who keeps extremes from tearing each other apart. He stands between Finn's burning drive and his own calm, between Princess Bubblegum's obsession with control and Marceline's rebellion, between family responsibilities and the call of adventure. Jake is not an agent of chaos, nor is he a champion of order. Instead, he embodies the middle path. His philosophy is one of harmony, not by choosing sides, but by weaving them together. From the earliest days of his adventures with Finn, Jake serves as a counterweight. Finn's youthful energy drives him into quests, battles, and self-imposed missions of heroism. Without Jake, Finn might exhaust himself, consumed by ideals of justice. Without Finn, Jake might lounge away his days in endless naps. Together, they balance one another. Finn pulls Jake into adventure. Jake reminds Finn to rest. Their partnership reflects Jake's philosophy of balance. Too much chaos leads to recklessness, too much order leads to rigidity. Harmony lies in the middle, where freedom and responsibility coexist. This balance also appears in Jake's interactions with Princess Bubblegum and Marceline. PB embodies order, scientific precision, responsibility to her people, and an almost obsessive need to control outcomes. Marceline, on the other hand, embodies chaos, rebellious, playful, and resistant to authority. These two often clash, their worldviews grinding against one another. Jake, however, maintains bonds with both. He respects PB's brilliance while also enjoying Marceline's playful anarchy. By refusing to choose one side, Jake demonstrates his philosophy. Both order and chaos are necessary. PB's discipline sustains kingdoms, while Marceline's rebellion keeps life free. Jake mediates between them, showing that harmony is not about erasing difference, but about holding it together. Jake's philosophy of balance also shapes his relationship with Lady Rainicorn and his children. Parenthood brings responsibility, order, and the need for structure. Jake, left to his own devices, prefers chaos, naps, food experiments, spontaneous fun. In raising a family, he learns to balance these impulses. He does not abandon his love of play, but he adapts it to his role as a father, blending order with joy. Lady Rainicorn provides steadiness, Jake provides levity, and together they create a family dynamic that thrives not in extremes, but in balance. His philosophy suggests that harmony in relationships comes not from sameness, but from the blending of difference. Even in combat, Jake embodies balance. His powers allow him to shift between offense and defense, stretching into weapons one moment and shields the next. His fighting style reflects adaptability rather than brute force, flowing with the needs of the moment. This flexibility mirrors his philosophy. Survival requires balance between attack and retreat, between boldness and caution. Jake does not cling to one mode of action, but finds harmony in movement, adjusting to whatever the situation demands. Jake's philosophy of balance is not always easy. His tendency to avoid responsibility sometimes pulls him too far toward chaos, frustrating Finn and PB. Other times, his loyalty anchors him so heavily that he leans toward order, sacrificing freedom for family. These tensions reveal the difficulty of living in balance. Jake falters, but his faltering makes his philosophy more authentic. Balance is not a state to be achieved once and for all. It is a practice, a constant adjustment, like stretching into a new shape. His imperfections remind us that balance is not perfection, but effort. In the larger world of U, Jake's philosophy of balance provides a counterpoint to the extremes that define its characters. The Lich embodies absolute chaos, destruction without purpose, the unraveling of life itself. Princess Bubblegum embodies absolute order, the sacrifice of freedom for the sake of stability. Finn, caught between these forces, often wavers, unsure where he belongs. Jake, however, finds a middle path. He does not deny chaos, nor does he worship order. He accepts both, weaving them into a life that is joyful, resilient, and whole. His philosophy shows that extremes are unsustainable, and that true strength lies in moderation. Jake's mediating role also carries symbolic weight. As a shapeshifter, he literally stretches between positions, filling gaps and bridging divides. His body becomes a metaphor for his philosophy, elastic, adaptable, connecting what would otherwise remain apart. Just as he stretches between cliffs to carry Finn across, he stretches between worldviews to hold U together. His philosophy suggests that life's meaning is not found at the edges, but in the middle, where differences meet and harmony emerges. This balance also explains Jake's enduring presence in the story. While other characters are consumed by their extremes, PB by duty, Marceline by rebellion, Finn by heroism, the Lich by destruction, Jake remains steady. He is not the most dramatic, nor the most powerful, but he is constant. His philosophy of balance allows him to endure, to survive, and to support others as they wrestle with their own extremes. In this sense, Jake becomes a kind of anchor for U itself, embodying the possibility of harmony in a fractured world. Yet Jake's philosophy is not passive. Balance does not mean inaction. He does not simply stand still between chaos and order. He actively blends them. He jokes in the midst of battles, bringing lightness into chaos. He relaxes when others overwork, bringing calm into order. He fights fiercely when loved ones are threatened, showing that chill does not mean weakness. His philosophy is dynamic, always adjusting, always moving, like the flow of his own body. Balance, for Jake, is not a static point, but a living practice. Ultimately, Jake the dog's philosophy of balance between chaos and order reveals his deepest wisdom, that life is not about choosing extremes, but about weaving them together. He teaches that freedom without responsibility is recklessness, and responsibility without freedom is suffocation. He shows that humour can live alongside seriousness, that love can coexist with individuality, and that chaos and order are not enemies, but partners in the dance of existence. In the end, Jake embodies balance not because he is perfect, but because he is elastic. He bends, he adapts, and he connects. His philosophy teaches that to live well is not to cling to absolutes, but to stretch with life, finding harmony between the forces that pull us apart. In a world as chaotic and unpredictable as U, Jake's balance is not just philosophy, it is survival, wisdom, and love. When all is said and done, what is Jake the dog's place in the story of U? He is not the chosen one. He is not the ruler of kingdoms. He is not the embodiment of cosmic evil or the guardian of ancient knowledge. And yet, his legacy is undeniable. Jake is the glue that holds so much together: Finn's growth, Lady Rainicorn's love, his children's future, the balance between order and chaos. His philosophy of chill, love, humour, adaptability, and acceptance shapes not only his own life, but the lives of everyone around him. To speak of Jake's legacy is to speak of the quiet power of presence, the strength of joy, and the wisdom of living well. Jake's legacy begins with his role, as Finn's brother. More than any cosmic prophecy or heroic destiny, it is Jake's companionship that allows Finn to grow into the hero he becomes. Jake mentors him not with lectures, but with laughter. He tempers Finn's intensity with calm, his recklessness with perspective, his despair with humour. Without Jake, Finn might have burned out under the weight of his ideals. With Jake, he learns balance, creativity, and resilience. This is part of Jake's legacy, the unseen shaping of a hero, not through destiny, but through love. His legacy also lives in his partnership with Lady Rainicorn. Their love is not flashy, not filled with endless drama or heartbreak, but steady, enduring, and real. Together, they show that love can survive cultural divides, parental disapproval, and the weight of history. In their union, they rewrite the story of two species once at war, transforming conflict into reconciliation. Their children carry that reconciliation forward, living embodiments of peace. Jake's legacy, then, is not only personal, but political. Not through thrones or treaties, but through family, love, and the creation of new life that bridges divides. As a father, Jake's legacy deepens. His children inherit not just his powers, but his philosophy. They grow in freedom, surrounded by laughter and love. Jake teaches them, as he taught Finn, not through rigid rules, but through presence and play. He trusts them to grow into their own identities, to stretch into their own lives, just as he stretches into impossible forms. His legacy as a parent is one of acceptance and joy, proof that family can be built on love, not on control. Jake's legacy also lies in his philosophy of balance. He stands between Finn's drive and his own relaxation, between PB's order and Marceline's chaos, between responsibility and freedom. He embodies the possibility of harmony in a fractured world. In doing so, he models a way of living that does not cling to extremes, but bends with them. His philosophy teaches that survival and happiness come not from rigidity, but from flexibility, not from dominance, but from balance. Even in the grand battles of Ooo, Jake's legacy is felt. He may not be the one to deliver the killing blow or unravel cosmic mysteries, but he is always there, stretching into shields, carrying friends to safety, making jokes in the face of doom. His presence turns battles into adventures, despair into laughter. His role is never about being the central hero. It is about ensuring that heroes do not collapse under the weight of their own burdens. Jake's legacy is the reminder that no one saves the world alone. It is saved by bonds, by partnerships, by the quiet strength of those who stand beside you. Jake's philosophy of impermanence also shapes his legacy. He does not obsess over how he will be remembered or whether his name will endure in history. For him, legacy is not a matter of monuments or songs. It is a matter of lives touched, meals shared, laughter given. His legacy is not written in books, but in the joy of those who knew him. Finn's growth, Lady Rainicorn's love, his children's futures, PB's occasional smiles, Marceline's laughter, these are his monuments. Ordinary, fleeting, but enduring in the hearts of those who carry them. Symbolically, Jake's rainbow-hued family and elastic body make his legacy even clearer. He stretches across divides, bridging chaos and order, love and responsibility, species and cultures. His legacy is not about conquering Ooo, but about weaving it together. He represents the possibility that harmony is not only desirable, but possible, that love, humour, and flexibility can heal even the deepest fractures. In a land defined by wars, magic, and cosmic threats, Jake shows that sometimes the greatest legacy is not power, but connection. Of course, Jake's imperfections are part of his legacy too. He avoids responsibility, frustrates his friends, and sometimes fails to rise when needed. But even in these flaws, he teaches. He shows that one does not need to be perfect to be meaningful, that joy can exist alongside imperfection, and that love is not diminished by failure. His philosophy is not about erasing flaws, but about embracing them, bending around them, and continuing forward. His legacy is not one of perfection, but of presence. In the grand narrative of Ooo, Jake's legacy is subtle but profound. While Finn represents the fire of youth, PB, the order of reason, Marceline the weight of history, and the Lich the void of destruction, Jake represents something quieter, the art of living. He shows that life is not just about fighting battles or fulfilling destinies. It is about laughing with friends, loving deeply, raising children, and enjoying food under the Sunday. His legacy is the reminder that these ordinary moments matter as much as the extraordinary. Ultimately, Jake the dog's legacy is one of unity. He unites people, philosophies, and even dimensions. He unites the drive for adventure with the need for rest, love with individuality, chaos with order, life with death. He is the bridge, the elastic thread that holds the fabric of Ooo together. His legacy teaches that connection is the heart of survival, connection to family, to friends, to love, to laughter. In the end, Jake's legacy is not about what he conquers, but about what he preserves. He preserves joy in the face of despair, love in the face of division, laughter in the face of death. He preserves the possibility that life, no matter how chaotic, can be lived well. And perhaps that is the greatest legacy of all. The philosophy that survival is not enough. One must also live, love, and laugh.